All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. With the start of the 2023 NFL season just days away, I'm going to talk about the NFC South, and this was a very interesting division last year. Nobody in the division finished with a winning record. And you had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win this division with a record of 8-9, while everybody else in the division was 7-10. With that said, some of those teams have made improvements while some have taken a step back. This is going to be, in my opinion, one of those divisions this year that's only going to get one participant to the postseason. But who has the best chance to win the South? Now, you look at the New Orleans Saints. And for me, one of the questions is, are they the team to beat in this division? The Saints obviously were right there as far as winning this division last year. They've made some improvements. The arrival of quarterback Derek Carr. And of course, Derek Carr spent his entire career with the Raiders, first in Oakland and then in Las Vegas. He is a Pro Bowl quarterback. The numbers have not been pretty at times, but you got to look at the situation that Derek Carr had with the Raiders as opposed to what he has now with the Saints. First and foremost, he has an organization and a head coach who want him, and Dennis Allen, and of course the Saints. New Orleans can run the football. New Orleans can play D. These are things that Derek Carr always did not have um, in first Oakland and then Las Vegas. You come into a situation, like I said, this is a very winnable division. And then on top of that, the perfect elements for Derek Carr because you're playing 8 of your games at least indoors. Now, what is Derek Carr hopeful to have with the Saints this year? A healthy and available Alvin Kamara at running back. We know what this young man can do with his running ability, but also his pass catching ability coming out of the backfield. You look at having a healthy Michael Thomas along with Chris Olave at wide receiver. And then New Orleans does have a solid offensive line with guard Andrews Pete as well as tackle Ryan Ramjic. But then I look at this Saints defense. They were sixth in the NFL in yards allowed last year, and they have the potential to once again be a top 10 unit. I know that folks out there getting their fantasy teams together. And I'll tell you like this, if you had an opportunity or if you've had an opportunity to get the Saints defense, consider yourself very fortunate. I say that because you look at Cam Jordan, a veteran on that defensive line. This guy continues to get it done. He's a leader for this team. He's an anchor for this team, and he continues to produce. He's 8 sacks away from surpassing Ricky Jackson as the Saints' all-time leader in the category. You also got Pro Bowl middle linebacker Demario Davis. Also, you look at this secondary. You got Marshawn Lattimore back there. Then you got the Honey Badger. And I look at this Saints team, they are going to be very formidable. Uh, you look at them, for me, I think two of the key games for the Saints are in the second half of the season. There's home and home series with the Atlanta Falcons, as this could be the two games that decide this division. New Orleans will be in Atlanta in week number 12, and they host the Falcons to wrap up the season in week number 18. And speaking of those Falcons, in the first 2 years under head coach Arthur Smith, they've gone 7-10, and they're hopeful to find a way to get over that hump and get to the postseason. Is it going to be Desmond Ritter or Tyler Heineke at quarterback? The Falcons drafted Ritter in the mid rounds of the 2022 draft. He saw playing time last year. They're very high on him, but then they brought in the veteran Tyler Heineke, who showed flashes at times with Washington. So who's it going to be under center this year? We got to wait and see. Rookie running back Bijan Robinson, I think, can have an impact right away for this Falcons team. We saw him run with so much effectiveness during his college career at the University of Texas. And then on top of that, the Falcons in recent years have hit the mark with their first round picks. You think about what Kyle Pitts means for them as a receiving tight end. You got Pro Bowl guard Chris Lindstrom, on that offensive line, along with tackle Jake Matthews. And then defensively, Grady Jarrett continues to anchor this D line. For me, I want to see what the Falcons look like in their first game of the week of the year, rather, this weekend versus the Carolina Panthers. I think that can be a tone setter for them to kind of get a feel what they are going to do this year. And speaking of those Panthers, they're definitely going to be looking different this year. They've got a new head coach in Frank Reich. And of course, if the name sounds familiar, he was the former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And then Frank Reich was the former starting quarterback for the expansion Carolina Panthers back in 1995. The Panthers used the first overall pick this year. They traded up with the Chicago Bears to take quarterback Bryce Young, and they feel that he is the future of their franchise, and they're starting him from day one. You're putting talent around the young man out of the University of Alabama. You brought in former Philadelphia Eagles running back Miles Sanders, also signing former Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen. And of course, the Vikings, partnered with Adam Thielen. And this is a veteran that I think has something to prove. And not only that, he's a professional. He's going to come in there and, help things on offense, both on the field, but also in the locker room as well. And I think that's going to go a long way for this Carolina Panthers team. Outside linebacker Brian Burns, what's his contract situation going to be? He has been an effective player for this team in recent years. And I'm looking at this Carolina team. I talked about the week one contest for Atlanta. I also want to see how it plays out for Carolina because I think that has the potential to be a tone setter for them. I think this Panthers team is going to progress as the season goes along, and they're going to be one of those teams come late November, uh, early December, and even in January that playoff teams are not going to want to face. And then you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and obviously it's the post Tom Brady era. We saw what the Bucks did in the 3 years with Brady under center. They made the playoffs in each of the 3 years. They won the Super Bowl in 2020, as of course there was a culture change there. Now they're starting over, and they're right back to square one. Is it going to be Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask at quarterback? Whomever it is, I think that that person is keeping the seat warm because with the bevy of quarterbacks coming out or expected to come out next spring for the NFL draft, I think the Bucks are going to be in that mix to get one of those guys. Are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to trade veteran wide receiver Mike Evans? We got to wait and see. This offensive line definitely has to be rebuilt in Tampa, and the same thing could be said for their D line. You've got some talent, some young talent in that back seven with the likes of Levante David, Devin White, and of course the veteran Shaq Barrett, but then Antoine Winfield Jr. leading that secondary. This is definitely going to be a rebuild year for the Bucks, and like I said, they are going to be in the mix to get one of those top tier quarterbacks. But when it's all said and done, like I said, there really wasn't much that separated all four of these teams in this division last year. I think New Orleans has made the most improvements to kind of separate themselves from the pack. And I think Derek Carr is going to make a difference. I look at it like this: Derek Carr doesn't have to go out there and single handedly win games for the Saints. He just has to go out there and play within the realm of this offense. You have yourself a stout defense that's going to go out there and get it done. They're fast and they're physical, and they're going to give you an opportunity to win games. All Derek Carr has to do is trust the people around him, both offensively and defensively, and the rest will take the speak for itself. But when it's all said and done, this division is the Saints to lose. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.